to welcome the new school year. And then we gathered again on September 11th. And I want to explain why we gathered everyone together yet again today here for Yom Iyun. This Yom Iyun is our school-wide kickoff to our theme of Arvut, communal responsibility. Though some of us have started already to learn about Arvut in our individual Beit Midrash groups, we felt it was really fitting to join together as a community to mark what is going to be a year-long exploration of the idea of Kol Yisrael Arevin Ze Lazeh. All Jews are responsible for one another. It feels very appropriate to talk about Arvut on Tzom Gedaliah. Why are we fasting today? After the destruction of the first Beit HaMikdash, most of the Jews in Eretz Yisrael were sent into exile in Bavel. The king of Bavel left a very small community of Jews behind to take care of the land and put a man named Gedaliah ben Achikam in charge. In the face of total destruction, this Jewish official, Gedaliah, started to build up the Jewish community. And Jews from neighboring countries started to come back to Eretz Yisrael. All of a sudden, there was a possibility of a new beginning. But shortly into his stint of leadership, Gedaliah was assassinated by a fellow Jewish officer who wanted his position of leadership. He was even warned about the assassination, but refused to believe that one Jew would kill another Jew. In the chaos that ensued after Gedaliah's assassination, the small Jewish community in Eretz Yisrael fled to Mitzrayim, and hopes for rebuilding Jewish life in Eretz Yisrael were put off for nearly a century. It's a little strange that we have a fast day marking the assassination of one person. Generally, our fast days mark large communal events, the breaching of the walls of Yerushalayim, the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. Those are things that affected every Jew who lived at that time. Why are we marking the assassination of one individual? Because Gedaliah's assassination was the act of one person whose single act of greed and selfishness destroyed any hopes of a community in Eretz Yisrael. Tzom Gedaliah is an example, it's a very extreme example, of the ways in which the actions of an individual have ripple effects. This Yom Iyun today is dedicated to the memory of J.J. Greenberg, Zichrono Livracha. J.J. was born in Riverdale, attended SAR Academy, and in 2002, at the age of 36, was bike riding in Israel when he was fatally struck by a car. 1 year later, when SAR High School opened, the founders of the school felt it was appropriate to dedicate the school in J.J.'s memory. J.J. is my first cousin, and it is meaningful for me to learn Torah each day in a building that is graced by his name. In almost everything he did, from his career with the Steinhardt Foundation, where he worked on programs to bring Judaism to the unaffiliated, to the percentage of his income that he gave to tzedakah, J.J. was a shining example of Arvut. There are two parts to the Yom Iyun this morning. First, we're going to learn about Arvut through learning a bit about J.J.'s life. It's one thing to talk about an idea theoretically, but it can be a lot more meaningful to understand how someone really lived that idea. We're privileged to have with us today Mr. David Winter, a close friend of J.J.'s, who's going to share some memories with us. Following Mr. Winter's talk, we will break up into groups to learn about how the theme of Arvut appears in our tefillot on Yom Kippur. Mr. David Winter is the co-founder and publisher of the Jewish Link of Bronx, Westchester, and Connecticut, and president of the Young Israel Ohav Tzedek of North Riverdale. He is the father of SAR High School students Ben and Sarah, and we are very blessed to welcome him here this morning. Mr. Winter.
Thank you. Thank you for this great opportunity to talk about a great person and a good friend. So how does a seemingly ordinary guy fun guy, funny guy, good guy, get a school named in his honor, in his memory. Well, J.J. Greenberg wasn't any ordinary guy. And as you know, this is no ordinary school. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says, Makom she'ein anashim hishtadel lihiyot ish. Where there is a place, where there is no man, where there is no leadership, step up, be a man. That was J.J. Greenberg. As Mishlaf said, J.J. was born and raised here in Riverdale in the amazing home of Rabbi Yitz and Blue Greenberg, great siblings, and from a very young age, he learned what it meant to be a leader in our community. I met J.J. right before high school. I was struck by his love of music, his love of fun, his love of life. I was struck by the fact that he was a vegetarian. Who was a vegetarian 35, 40 years ago? Our first visit to Flash Pizza on Riverdale Avenue, we got our pizza, we sat down, I grabbed 5 or 6, 7 napkins. JJ dug in his pocket, pulled out a napkin from the day before. Why waste a napkin? JJ was green way before it was cool. JJ saw what needed to get done. JJ knew that we had to save the earth, and even if it was one napkin at a time, he was going to do that. JJ was the kind of guy that you hear about that would wait on a street corner to find an old lady to cross the street with her because it needed to get done. One day, his good friend Richie Heisler was stuck on the Tappan Zee Bridge. He'd been biking upstate, couldn't go any further, had a flat tire. JJ jumped in his car, and he didn't just go and help Richie home. He dressed as Superman, put on a cape, and went to rescue his friend, to just lighten up the situation, to make someone laugh in a tough time. JJ knew that his calling in life was outreach and education. He traveled all over the United States, some 43 different states, each week a different Shabbaton, to Australia, spent several months in Russia where he made a major impact. People still talk about him there, and those people who he affected made aliyah, and they do still talk about him. Later on in life, after working at the Quincentennial Foundation celebrating 400 years of Jews in Turkey, he got an amazing opportunity. He became the founding executive director of the Steinhardt Foundation for Jewish Life. He tirelessly worked for many Jewish organizations, and then he was part of a small team that envisioned Birthright Israel. Today, over 100,000 people have visited Israel because of that small team, and millions of lives have been affected. Just one small thing that he was a part of during his years at the foundation. JJ wasn't really a morning person, but he worked late into the night in the office and often encountered the maintenance staff. One night, while walking through the halls, he saw one of the maintenance staff on their hands and knees trying to fix the vacuum cleaner. What was the problem? Can I help? Well, you see, when there are staples in the carpet, they get caught up in the machine and the machine can't run. The next day, an edict came down. Please, when you take staples out of your papers to make copies, throw them away. Please don't leave paper clips on the floor. Seemingly stupid, little, annoying thing that your boss is telling you to do, but no, everyone in the office knew exactly what he meant. He cared about this person who, late at night, had to be struggling because we were thoughtless to drop a staple on the floor. And you could often see JJ in the office looking around, picking up staples. It wasn't just staples, it was garbage. On a street corner, if there was garbage, he would pick it up and throw it in the garbage can. Makom she'ein ish, hishtadel lihiyot ish. JJ taught Hebrew in his free time in the evenings. He taught at Makor, he taught at Oav Tzedek on the Upper West Side. Until today, I still hear from the people that he taught what an effect he had on their lives, because he cared. He cared about every single Jew. and what their effect could be on the Jewish people. J.J. loved music. He had a collection of thousands of LPs. Those are those round plastic things, Rob, that your parents had. He had thousands of compact discs. Those are those smaller round plastic things that your parents had. And that affected everyone around him, his joy of music. He loved his family. Daily calls to his grandparents, loved his nieces and nephews, doting them, giving them gifts all the time, always thinking about the right gift for the right time, not just what was on sale in the store like some uncles. Finally, J.J. was traveling in Israel, biking with his brother and some friends up to visit his sister, when a driver went through a red light and J.J. was struck. The earth stood still for many people in the following hours. It was the next morning, Shabbat morning, when we heard J.J. was gone. But in his last moments, he saved the lives of 5 other people with organ donation. Again, it wasn't a popular thing. It wasn't the cool thing. But early on, J.J. made a statement and made sure it was on his driver's license and made sure everyone around him knew that when the time came, I want to help other people. I feel responsible for other people. All people are my friends, are my relatives, are my closest. And his final act proved that. When you visit a Shiva house, it's quite uncomfortable at times, at least for me, to walk up to the mourner and say, Hamakom yinachem etchem b'toch she'ar avelei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May you be comforted amongst the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. On that terrible Saturday, that terrible Shabbat, I was sitting at the front steps of the Greenberg home with my good friend David Sable. And David said something to me which resonates and stays with me. What is hamakom? We talked about it before. Hamakom she'ein ish, hishtadel liot ish. Hamakom yinachem etchem. Of course, you could say it's God. You could say it's a place like this building. Or it could be the void left by that person. In JJ's case, it's all 3. JJ loved his God, his religion, his people. God will certainly be menachem those around him. A place, this place, with JJ's name on it, is a consolation. But it's not a consolation. It's a guarantee that the future that JJ envisioned will happen. So when you walk the halls, when you see that beautiful piece of art by the piano, think of JJ. And think, what would JJ do today? Say hello to a friend, someone you've never seen before, someone you've never met before. Pick up a piece of garbage. Clean up after your lunch. Save a napkin for another day. And finally, the void. When JJ left us, there was a void. JJ was a leader in the Jewish community like no other. He connected to older people and younger people, established money and regular guys. There was a void left. That void is filled by hundreds and hundreds of students that go through SAR every day. This place is where Tikkun Olam begins and continues to flourish once you leave here. So, I thank you for being here. I thank SAR for this beautiful day in memory of JJ. And I hope that at least now, JJ's not just a name. JJ's a vision. JJ's a person that you understand. Certainly, if you ever see me, you want to ask me about JJ, I got millions of stories, some I can't share publicly. But JJ was a man who cared for his people. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those stories. Really unbelievable. At this point, we're going to ask everyone in grades 9 through 11 are going to go to their Beit Midrash locations. You're going to meet with your regular Beit Midrash groups and teachers. And we're going to do a little bit of learning in memory of JJ, a little bit about our theme of Arvut. So everyone in grades 9 through 11, please go to your Beit Midrash locations. Everyone in grade 12, just stay here for one more moment. Grade 12.